across to our commentators, Peter Collins, and a man that's breaking out in a sweat already, Tony Millard.
Not as hot as it was the last 2 years, but the sun shines on the righteous, as they say. The rain has stopped. And here in the stadium, the action thick and fast. Andy Smith in red, Billy Hamill in blue. In white, Henrik Gustafsson. Marion Giroux is on the outside in yellow. The last two go out of this one, but look at this. For Andy Smith, he streaks away ahead of Henrik Gustafsson. And back in blue, could Billy Hamill go out?
Well, there's Andy. He's made a bad corner there and allowed the riding white Gustafsson to take that, but Billy Hamill's really struggling there in third place, Tony.
Billy Hamill trying to come through on the inside. That's where the battle is joined. Out front now is Gustafsson, because Andy Smith seems to have lost it. And Andy Smith could fade away, but Andy Smith comes again in second place. And it's going to be Hamill going out here, I think. The action, much unexpected stuff is already happening here. The Czechs have had it well so far. Sinking away to the back is Mario Giroux. Just as I say that, coming through in third is Billy Hamill, but look at Henrik Gustafsson there. So often flatters to deceive, but this time with a lap to go, Henrik Gustafsson is out front ahead of Andy Smith and Billy Hamill, and Hamill is going to tumble out of this Grand Prix. The first two are going to march on. The first shot here in the Marquetta Stadium is about to happen before your eyes as Billy Hamill goes out. But Andy Smith stays in, because Billy Hamill is back in third place in blue. Mario Giroux is out of it in yellow. But that man, Henrik Gustafsson from Sweden, Peter Collins, rode in the end what transpired to be a perfect race.
Yes, he did, Tony, but what a start there from Andy Smith, and Andy tucked in there for second place. The two lads who finished third and fourth there, Billy Hamill and Marion Giroux, both going out now, both taking an early bath. But Gustafsson there really made it count on that first turn, and he got in that second place and managed to overhaul Andy Smith there.
Well, certainly here, this is where it happened from the gate initially for Andy Smith. Certainly he looked good at that point, but Gustafsson got it down early.
Yeah, we can see Andy there. Andy's on the inside. It's always a good place to be when the track's wet. Andy's made a great start round the inside. He's tucked in nice and tight round the white line, but just look at Gustafsson on the outside. He's not being phased by this dirt that's being thrown up. But you can see the riders are using these dirt deflectors now there. You can see that on Andy's bike, which is stopping a lot of the dirt flying up and not covering the riders in mud and impairing the vision, so they can actually see where they're going when they're behind. But you can see Gustafsson now, he tries that run, or he's going to try a run round the outside of Andy Smith, but Andy's suddenly got a load of grip in the wrong place and gone very, very wide. There seems to be a real grippy bit in the middle of that corner there, Tony, but Andy Smith's gone basically out of the picture. But when he comes back in there, Gustafsson sneaked up the inside there to take that win. But you can see Andy Smith and Gustafsson both go through now to the next round.
Well, certainly they do, and well, I don't think Mario Giroux started too well there. It was a bit of a shock for him, and I can tell you that we're certainly seeing some frenetic action already. This place is changing all over the place, plenty of overtaking, and maybe, Peter, what we actually need is more rain at speedway meetings.
Well, it was certainly all happening in that race, and that rain didn't stop Henrik Gustafsson from really getting under Andy Smith there and taking that win.
So heat number 6 is coming up now. Tony Sparb, a shock, coming third in heat number 2. He goes from the inside in red in this one. Lee Adams will be going in blue. He came third in heat number 4. Peter Protasiewicz will be in white. He'll go from gate 3. And Joe Screen will go from the outside in yellow and black. And remember, as they did from heat number 5, the last two in this race will tumble out. Already out, as we know, Mario Giroux, who gets 1 Grand Prix point, and Billy Hamill with 2. And certainly, well, Joe Screen is sweating, as is Lee Adams, Tony Sparb, and Peter Protasiewicz in this one.
Yeah, Joe Screen's got to really pull something out of the bag now, because if he doesn't actually finish in the first 2 places, he will go out as well. Andy Smith just proved that it can be done by the Brits, and if Joe can do the same thing there, we'll all be shouting.
Well, certainly on the outside there, we have Joe Screen, and we've got to look to him to produce something in the yellow and black helmet colour. On the inside from the Czech Republic is Tony Sparb. Gate 2 from Australia, Lee Adams, now back in the British League. Peter Protasiewicz, the wild card from Poland, gate 3. On the outside is Joe Screen. Can he cut across? Joe's doing it. On the inside in blue is Lee Adams. Lee Adams, that man in blue, pursued by Joe Screen. Joe goes through there, and now Joe Screen, I'm sure, won't let him by here. What a brilliant ride on the inside there for the Brit.
What a start for the English boys here. Now Screen is really going well. What a turn there to get under Lee Adams. But Joe there, if they stay as it is, Joe's going to progress to the next round. But he's riding really, really well after that bad first ride.
Joe Screen coming across from the outside, getting into Lee Adams and getting him closer. Now we've got 2 races on our hands with Screen ahead of Adams. They will both stay in. The other 2, Tony Sparb and Peter Protasevich, will surely tumble out if it stays like this. The track clearly drying out now. The rain has stopped. The fans are warming to this, and certainly with nearly 12,000 in this stadium, we know that we have a top speedway meeting on our hands, and some top riding here too from Joe Screen as he goes there ahead of Lee Adams. Joe Screen, having taken command, certainly isn't going to surrender it. The Union Jack on his leathers there, he'll be wearing that proudly tonight. The city of Prague in the background as Joe Screen will take the checkered flag, and Joe Screen knows now that he carries on, he stays in this meeting. And Joe Screen, a victory for Britain, and Joe Screen is cheerful with that one as he salutes the efforts of Lee Adams behind him. Lee Adams then in 2nd place, and Tony Sparb in 3rd place in the red helmet colours, and Peter Protasevich in white. And now those 2 tumble out. That Sparb and Protasevich go out, and the other 2, Joe Screen and Lee Adams, march on.
Well, we can see this start there. The rider in blue there, Lee Adams, makes a perfect start. He runs into that first bend very, very tight. You can see Joe, though, on the outside. It's a long way to come there for Joe from the gate 4 position. The rider in red there, Tony Sparb's right in the middle of things, just about stays on the bike, but totally loses all drive. But Screening now's chopped back right up the inside and gone straight past Lee Adams to take that win. And that was a marvellous ride from Joe. Just what we need for the English boys.
Well, certainly now the floodlight shining on the riders here, and we're looking to see now what they can do, and certainly they're going to march on here, because now we go on to heat number 7, where it's second chances once again. Nobody eliminated from this one. They are playing for places. Brand Carger, so impressive, first time out from Denmark, will go from the inside in this one. And now a chance to look at what we have coming up as we start Elite League Speedway here in Britain next Thursday. That's May the 13th. We're live from Coventry. It's the Coventry Bees against the Wolverhampton Wolves. And we have an important interview coming up centering on that match later on in this programme, exclusively here on Sky, as we bring you all the Speedway news almost as it happens. Already up at tapes now for heat number 7, back here in Prague. On the second gate there in blue is Tony Casper, so impressive first time out. We're waiting there on the inside for Brand Carger. The Dane too was pretty impressive when he won the very first race of the night, Brand Carger. Casper in gate 2 in the blue helmet colours from the Czech Republic, riding last weekend for Eastbourne and riding pretty impressively at the Arlington circuit. Gate 3 in white is Michael Carlson, and on the outside we just see his elbow there. That in yellow and black is John Jorgensen, the Dane, of course, formerly with Coventry. This is going to be competitive, Peter.
Yes, it is. Tony Casper really showed some great riding in that first race, Tony, and he's, of course, the local man here in Prague, and I think he possibly could go all the way here tonight, Tony.
Well, it'll be very interesting he does in this one, because if he wins this heat, he could really march on. Tony Casper in gate 2. He'll have to watch Brand Carger on the inside as Carger picks it up first to the apex. Trying to come across to the outside is John Jorgensen. Carger picks it up in red, but look at the man in blue on the inside there. That is Casper that you forecast, Peter. He knows the track like the back of his hand, and Tony Casper is firing on all cylinders, they might say, even though he's only got one.
Yeah, like you said, Tony, he came over and rode at Eastbourne last weekend. He dropped 1 point from 4 rides on a terribly small track. It's a great track, but very, very small, totally different to this one, and he can do it here as well, which is his home track.
Tony Casper on this track at the Marquetta Stadium, 353 yards round it is, but Tony Casper knows every inch of that, I'm sure, and he's going to make best use of it here tonight. Tony Casper in front. In second place in the white helmet colours there is Michael Carlson moving through. And back in third there now, well, it's the helmet colour, I think, but certainly in blue, that's Tony Casper looking good, and Tony Casper is going to win this with some comfort now. And Tony Casper knows full well that he can march, as Peter Collins said, all the way. He's even got time to look back there. He waves to the crowd, and he knows that he's done his bit here. Trading in last is Brand Carger. That was something of a surprise, but no surprise certainly for Peter Collins, who forecasts that the man in the blue helmet colour, Tony Casper, would win that one, and he won it with some style ahead of Michael Carlson in second place and Jon Jorgensen in third in yellow and black. The disappointment for Karga in red, and he will have a chance to get back in it and battle again. If he can ride like he did in his first heat, he certainly got half a chance.
Yeah, no, Casper didn't really make the start, Tony. We can see here he gets quite boxed in there. The rider in red actually makes the best start, which is Brian Karga. But when he gets to the first turn, he runs a little bit wide. When he hits a bit of grip there, the bike just takes off. He misses the corner altogether, runs very, very wide. We saw Marian Giroux do that earlier on. But Casper has rode a great line right around the inside to take that lead. And when he gets onto the back straight, he's just got enough speed to pull ahead of Michael Carlson. But we can see there, as Casper takes the flag, he must be elated with that one, and he's definitely in the running tonight, Tony.
Well, certainly he showed true quality there, and he'll be coming up. The winner, Tony Casper, will come up against Tony Rickardson and Jason Crump, certainly in heat number 11, which will be his next ride. And certainly that's going to be tough for him. And the man who finished in second place, Michael Carlson, will ride in heat number 12, where he'll come up against Jimmy Nielsen and Ryan Sullivan. So it's going to get tougher and tougher now as they go on here, with the racing coming thick and fast. So heat number 7 there, won by Tony Casper, the impressive local rider, ahead of Michael Carlson, and John Jorgensen with Brian Karga last, as we now move on to heat number 8. Up at tapes there, that is Robert Dardos. The pole is in gate 2, trying to keep hopes of Poland alive, and join Thomas Golub in the main event. The man in white there is Stefan Dano, not riding in England this year, rode for Eastbourne the last couple of years. And on the outside, it's Brian Anderson. And Brian Anderson, of course, the Coventry rider from Denmark, had ill luck with a broken collarbone the last couple of seasons, but he was, I think, Peter, the first to experiment with these new Barham tyres in this Grand Prix.
That's right, they're all using the hard compound Barham tyres now in these Grand Prix and the league in England. And Brian was the first one to use those, riding with broken collarbones as well.
It's a tough game, this Speedway. On the inside, Peter Carlson. Robert Danos goes from gate 2, Stefan Dano, gate 3 on the outside is Brian Anderson. And look, the man on the inside gate comes wide. The door is closed tight there as the man in white, Stefan Dano, goes in front. Storming through in yellow and black is Brian Anderson. The battle is joined against Carlson. And certainly here we've got some speedway, some lively speedway. Robert Dardos, who started well, is tailed off at the back, but out front now and going well, it's Stefan Dano, the former Eastbourne rider, just racing in Sweden this year. But what style, and as the track's drying out, the racing is becoming easier for them.
Yes, it is, Tony, but it's just started to rain again. I think we've got a big shower again coming. And Peter Carlson's trying hard, but basically Dano seems to have the race sewn up. Dano's riding very, very fast. We saw him in last year's Grand Prix, his first Grand Prix season, but just look at the distance he's got there now from Peter Carlson. He looks
I just
very,
wonder
very sharp.
about Stefan Dano. He goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. On this, he's absolutely brilliant.
Yes, Tony, he seems to make the Grand Prix his own. He was very, very good in last year's Grand Prix. His league sort of season was pretty mediocre, but certainly Grand Prix racing, he is very, very good.
Well, he's gaining with every stretch, but look who's going wide there and getting in trouble, and now coming through in second place there is the rider in red, Peter Carlson. Third in blue is Robert Danos. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Brian Anderson. Disappointment for him, and it's going to be tough for him to stay in, but it certainly hasn't been tough for that man, Stefan Dano, because Dano won that by the proverbial street. The Swede marches on. Peter Carlson in second place in the red helmet colours. Third was Brian Anderson, and fourth was Robert Dardos. That's the figures they've gone up, not quite as we called it.
Well, here we go again with the start. Look at Peter Carlson, what a beautiful start he makes. But look on the outside, there's Dano's bike. Dano was even better. Brian Anderson right on the very outside of Brian's riding with another broken collarbone. He struggled all last year with a broken collarbone. He had operations on it, and then this year he's fallen and broken the other collarbone only 3 weeks ago, but he's got no answer to Dano. Dano's flying away with this race. Carlson's in hot pursuit, but what a ride there from Dano. He just looks so quick.
Disappointment then, certainly for the last two, but they live to fight another day in this heat. But heats 10 and 11 will be absolutely crucial. 9 and 10 rather will be absolutely crucial. But the form of Stefan Dano at the moment is certainly among the peaks of this meeting so far. 1 or 2 surprises, but a lively meeting. But no such luck for the riders. They're in among the wet, they're in among the mud, and they're in among the thick of the action. And Peter Collins, it's certainly not easy for them.
No, conditions are not good, Tony. I mean, when you get a wet meeting like this, it's such a shame because it's turning to slop and slush on the top of the track, and it's flying everywhere. But the dirt deflectors are working, Tony, and you know, the track is quite hard and there isn't such a lot of loose dirt flying about, but it's a shame that we've had this late downpour as well, because it's actually raining again now.
Well, this is going to be crucial. Anderson is not here in this heat. Brian Anderson, I wonder whether he's feeling that collarbone, because we knew before the meeting, and Ollie Olsen, the race director, said he didn't want unfit riders riding, but Anderson has now dropped out, which means that he will get just 3 Grand Prix points for this one. And the man out front now is Henrik Gustafsson. Remember, the last man of this 3 will now go out. Already Brian Anderson is out. At the moment, it looks like Lee Adams will disappear after this heat, but Henrik Gustafsson is out front. In second place, Jon Jorgensen, and their disappointment indeed. That is Brian Anderson walking away. We saw him, and certainly disappointment for Brian Anderson feeling that collarbone. But look at this, Henrik Gustafsson out front and going well.
Yeah, Henrik seems to be starting off real well today. I've heard some good reports about Henrik. He's got very, very keen and serious about the sport. He's settled down quite a lot, and the way he's going in these first few races, he's really flying, Tony.
Looking to go wider. There's Brian Anderson. He's furious. It's clearly not his collarbone, it's something else, and we'll have to find out about that in a moment. Brian Anderson out of this one and out of the Grand Prix, but look at this man, Henrik Gustafsson. He's determined to stay in. Following him in white is Jon Jorgensen, the Dane, and Lee Adams is going to tumble out at this stage, and it's going to be really disappointing for the Australian, who's now back racing in the British League and riding for Kings Lynn. But there's the punch to the air of Henrik Gustafsson, who wins that ahead of Jon Jorgensen. In third place is Lee Adams, who tumbles out of the Grand Prix. But Henrik Gustafsson, some odd riders here are looking good, Peter, before they come up against the big guns.
Yes, I think we had a problem with Brian Anderson. I think he didn't make the 2 minutes. He was actually out in race 8, and I think he didn't get ready in time, and he's possibly been excluded for not being to the starting time. But Gustafsson certainly did extremely well in that race and under those conditions.
Well, there is Brian Anderson, and we're just wondering here what on earth was going on. He's far from happy, and there's certainly Eric Gunderson, and we can see the race again without Anderson, but Gustafsson there, number 15, Peter, certainly impressive.
Yeah, Gustafsson there made it from the start. He makes a beautiful gate from gate 1. As we've said, when the track's wet like this, it's such an advantage because you've got the inside of the corner. When you get there, you see him get such a lot of grip round that line. There's some deep ruts there at the moment, some soft parts of the track, but I'm sure that they're going to grade those. But the riders seem to be straightening up in the middle of the turn, but Gustafsson certainly had that one under control, and the way he rode there, the way he sneaks past Jon Jorgensen on the outside, but there's poor old Lee Adams, who's actually gone out after that race.
Well, the prize there, disappointment for Brian Anderson, who tumbles out with just 3 Grand Prix points. The prize, if you call it that, for Henrik Gustafsson is a place in Heat 13, where he'll be up against Thomas Golob and Greg Hancock. But, well, there's no second prize. Anderson is out. We know now, of course, that Adams is out, and we march on to heat number 10, and 2 more will disappear from the Grand Prix from this quartet. This man in yellow and black is Brian Carger, who was pretty impressive first time out. And the man we're going to watch here is Joe Screen in red and fellow Brit Andy Smith in blue. We'd like to see the 2 Brits. That man there, Joe Screen, then Andy Smith finishes the first 2, and they will then march on to the main event. But it's not going to be easy against Robert Dardos, who certainly has been a little bit inconsistent, as has Brian Carger.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a team event, but here's where I'd certainly like to see England get first and second with Joe Screen and Andy Smith, and they've both got inside start positions. You can see Joe Screen's going to start off gate 1 there on the inside, and Andy Smith's next to him, so hopefully they can use that grip, that little bit of a berm, that deep part of the track round the inside to catapult them into the lead.
It seems to me that it's going to be absolutely vital for Joe Screen to get away from the gate fast, because if he holds it at the apex, they'll not get by him, will they?
That's right, he's got the best start position. Let's just hope he can make it work, Tony.
Joe Screen on the inside. Can he pick it up from Andy Smith? Coming across in white is Dardos, but there's Joe Screen. That's what he wanted. It's bumpy, it's rough, but it's Joe Screen out front. But now look at that coming through on the inside and putting him under some sort of pressure is Brian Carger. But look out front there is Joe Screen. That's what we wanted. Brian Carger is in second place now. There he is. Andy Smith is in third. Robert Dardos at the back. He doesn't count. But Joe Screen is showing the sort of form we see so frequently back in England. Here at the Marquetta Stadium, Joe Screen will carry that British flag on his leathers with pride, and after 2 laps he's doing it in a fast manner out front. But look at this, Andy Smith coming through. Can he catch him? Andy Smith is in 3rd place. We'd love him to go by and chase Brian Carger, but it looks as if Carger will hold 2nd place. But Smith's going again, and there is Andy Smith coming through. It's Britain 1 and 2. They can stay in here. Andy Smith happy to be back in the British League. Joe Screen, of course, rivaling Chris Louis for the #1 position among British riders in the Grand Prix now, and they are going to finish 1 and 2. This is a great moment for British Speedway. Joe Screen punches the air. Andy Smith is delighted, and who cares following them home, because the Brits march on to the main event to join their fellow countryman Chris Louis. And we know now, there's the finishing order. Joe Screen, Andy Smith, Robert Dardos in white will tumble out, as will Brian Carger. He goes out as well, but the Brits march on, and what a magnificent performance by Joe Screen, and battling Andy Smith in 2nd place.
Oh, absolutely fabulous that, Tony. We see here the start. There on the outside is Carger, but he's not really made a good start. There's Joe. Joe comes straight into the picture. Now Joe keeps it very tight. Now just watch Joe when he hits that dirt on the inside, but he keeps it totally under control, doesn't move off the line hardly, just enough to catapult him into that 1st place. Andy Smith's there in the thick of things at the moment, but Joe Screen's a very versatile rider. He's extremely good on the grass tracks as well. He can ride the rough stuff, and it just showed you in that one how he kept that bike totally under control when it was trying to jump out of his hands. Now Andy Smith there, he's in 3rd place, he's plugging away now. There's Carger chasing Joe Screen, but Joe's using those deep bits on the inside to his advantage. He's pulling away here, we can see that there. The rider in yellow there, Carger, he's also hit that same bit, but he certainly didn't hold on to it like Joe Screen did, Tony.
Well, Joe Screen, well, fine performance by him, but his honour will see him meeting up against fellow countryman Chris Louis and against Hans Nielsen in Heat 14, and it means that Andy Smith will come up against Golob Hancock and Gustafsson in Heat 13. So the Brits march on. The battle is joined as we move on towards the main event. The first 10 heats are gone. The early eliminations, the big boys come in. We know now what's happening. Charlie Chaplin's not racing.
With the conditions.
Well, of course, nobody's going to get eliminated from this particular heat.
No.
They're going to go through to the next ride, but it's a bit of a baptism by fire, and it's straight in there in Prague.
You got to realize too that both Peter and Casper are both starting on the outside conditions, who aren't the best. So the guys they're seated in the main event. Tony and Jason both probably have an advantage being on the inside with their experience. They're going to take full advantage. You can see Tony there working the grooves. I mean, it's real important to make sure that that bike goes straight and not up in the air.
Okay, well, they're dealing with the track conditions pretty well here. We're going to see whether Rickardson and Crump can come up with the goodies over Casper and Carlson. We can go back now to our commentators, Peter Collins and Tony Millard.
Yes, the big man in the back. Tony Rickardson is the world champion in the red helmet colours on the inside. Jason Crump is next to him, of course. Jason Crump, who's been used to winning Grand Prix, twice a British Grand Prix, Hackney 96 and Coventry in 1998, so we know his form. Tony Casper, who's been burning things up on this wet track, goes from gate 3. And Peter Colson, the mystery man, wears spectacles under his helmet. That's going to be difficult in these conditions, which are becoming steamy. At the moment, Tony Rickardson has the advantage. I think Peter Collins on the inside gate, but having been out on the track, is there a bigger advantage to Casper and Carlson?
Well, he's going out cold, isn't he? But the ones on the outside, if they don't make that start, they're going to be up against it. But we can see Casper off gate 3's made an absolute beauty.
There he is. We said he knows the track, and Casper's roaring away. And look in pursuit. Jason Crump is just behind him. There is Jason Crump in the blue helmet colours. Back in 3rd is Tony Rickardson. He may have to try again to stay in the meeting, and that'll be the second big surprise. Tail off at the rear is Peter Colson. He will have to have another go as well, but look at that man out front. You said early on that Tony Casper, who rode the small track at Eastbourne last Saturday, the big track in Prague this Saturday, is showing as if he knows no difference between them. He's fast and furious on both, and stretching his lead there in the white helmet colours from the Czech Republic. And Tony Casper is far from a spring chicken. He's coping with the conditions well.
Yeah, well, Tony told me before the meeting that it was no advantage to him being on his home track, but who could say that that was right, the way he's going on it? He seems to be absolutely flying round here, Tony.
36-year-old Tony Casper only has Nielsen in the field, older than him, but Casper's out front and going well. Jason Crump in pursuit, just out of picture there. He's got time to look back at the blue helmet colours, but there are the check cheers for Tony Casper ahead of Jason Crump in second place. Tony Casper certainly going well there. Tony Ricardson back in third. Peter Carlson at the rear. It means that Ricardson and Carlson will have to battle again. Casper and Crump march on, and they're getting towards the closing stages. They won't have to have too many rides, but Tony Casper at the moment, Peter Collins, is looking well nigh unbeatable in home conditions.
Yes, Tony, and you know he's come off gate 3, which is really a terrible starting position because it gets very, very polished, it's very, very slippery. Where he's got all that grip from on gate 3, I just don't know. He certainly seems to be very, very special the way he's come from there. You see that he's riding those grippy bits on the inside, just as Joe Screen did earlier. He's using them to his total advantage. His front wheel is very, very light. And there, as we said, Tony Ricardson in the red helmet. He's very, very cold after not being out in those earlier rides. But what a ride from Casper.
Well, Casper there was the class act in that one, but Jason Crump, as usual, showed his battling qualities. But the battle marches on. 2 more riders come in for the first time. 2 come back on the track, and one of those is the impressive Stefan Dano. In the blue helmet colours there is the Australian Ron Sullivan with the number 7 on his back. The 23-year-old, originally born in Melbourne, but hails these days from South Australia, comes from Adelaide. And his best effort last year was a runner-up in the last Grand Prix at Bidgosh, and we knew how impressive he was in that sad day for Billy Hamill, but Ron Sullivan certainly looking good that day. He's in this one alongside Jimmy Nielsen. That's Ron Sullivan. Jimmy Nielsen is the man in red. Jimmy Nielsen, world number 2, of course, runner-up last year in the Grand Prix series, and he will be going from the inside gate. Stefan Dano, who's qualified by winning heat number 8 to have gate 3 in this one in the white helmet colours. Michael Carlson in the yellow and black helmet colours, runner-up in heat 7. He will be on the outside. The umbrellas for the girls at the starting gate, but looking calm, cool and collected is that Aussie, Ron Sullivan. He could be a world champion, Peter?
He could. He seems to have the right temperament, Tony. He doesn't shine so good in league racing, but when it comes to world championships and the qualifiers, he's a star. He's been many, you know, he's been continental champion, intercontinental champion. He's won a lot of the qualifying rounds to get into the Grand Prix over the last couple of years. And this is only his 2nd Grand Prix season, and he had a fantastic year in his 1st year last year.
Well, certainly I remember his effort in Bidgosh. Similar sized track, that one too. But here now, conditions very different. Jimmy Nielsen on the inside from Sweden. Ron Sullivan from Australia, gate 2, and 2 more Swedes. Stefan Dano and Michael Carlson go from the outside 2 gates. And remember, this is the main event now, as the big guns have come in this case, Nielsen and Sullivan. The top 8 in last year's Grand Prix coming in for these 4 heats. And away they go from the inside there. Nielsen picking it up a bit, but holding great on the inside there. They're going to have to make space around the outside, but Jimmy Nielsen's giving no room at all. Moving through into 2nd place now is Stefan Dano. Dano is making ground. Ron Sullivan in the blue helmet. He's on the outside there pressing, but coming through in the yellow is Michael Carlson into 3rd place. Dano's in 2nd, but out front it's Jimmy Nielsen. His equipment remaining clean. He's not getting the pickup from anybody, and he's looking as if he knows exactly which part of the track he wants.
Yes, Jimmy's certainly controlling this race. He's just sat there. I mean, I've said it many times, but he just looks as though he's riding in an armchair. Stefan Dano's very, very fast, but he certainly is not gaining on him at all. Jimmy rides for my old club in Bellevue in Manchester, and he's having a great season for them this year also.
Well, we're seeing Bellevue in League Speedway shortly live on Sky, but Jimmy Nielsen isn't concerned with that just now. He's concerned with winning this race, and he's looking good. He's looking impressive. Remember, 2nd in that World Championship last year on that rostrum in the final Grand Prix. But now, in this heat number 12, certainly looking good out front. In 2nd place is Stefan Dano. Ron Sullivan's going to have to go for more. But we know now that the winner there, Jimmy Nielsen in red. Stefan Dano, the Swede, battling through the closing stages. But that man from Sweden, Jimmy Nielsen, knows that there's a Swede right behind him, Stefan Dano. Ron Sullivan 3rd and Michael Carlson 4th. They will have to battle again. Jimmy Nielsen and Stefan Dano qualify for heats 17 and 18. It certainly is interesting, the Speedway.
Yeah, you know, it's real difficult, Tony, to come in at this late stage like Jimmy's done in this race. You can see there he makes a great start from the inside. He's not ridden at all today. This is his 1st ride. And, of course, the 2 on the outside of him have already had 3 rides. But you can see Stefan Dano, he's gone for the big blast around the outside. And there in the yellow, Michael Carlson's also having a go, but see the rain coming down again. But Jimmy's just sat in his armchair. Ryan Sullivan shoots into the picture there, into second place momentarily before Stefan's going to go a big blast again down the bottom end. But Jimmy's taking all the track up as he heads very cautiously into that bend, but he's still going very, very fast. He uses that inside just to pull away into that lead. We can see he's so calm, so relaxed, and what a first ride for Jimmy. Coming out cold, what a win.
Well, that win, of course, gives him an advantage too when he comes out in his next heat, because by winning that heat, it means that he is actually through into take the inside gate in his next outing.
Yeah, the inside start positions are really good at this stage, Tony. I mean, they've been that good all night, but the thing is, he can get there off the inside. Jimmy can make it, so I mean, that's going to be an advantage to him.
Now we're moving on to heat number 13, and this is important. There's Andy Smith, you saw going out in the yellow helmet colour. That man in the white helmet colour, that is Henrik Gustafsson. Gustafsson now has a bit of a problem there, and I wonder just what that is. People hectically looking at their watches. Henrik Gustafsson had to change his machine earlier on this evening. I wonder if he's going to have to do it again. All sorts of worries there for the rider who'll go out in this heat wearing the white helmet colours. Waiting for him to come out. They can't get that machine started. Real problems here for Henrik Gustafsson. He won heat number 9 in impressive style. He'd be keen to stay in this. Here comes yet another machine for the Swede, but he wants to get out on this one. That is going back into the pits, and the clock on the bottom right-hand side indicates how long he has to get on his way, because the referee has given him in 2 minutes to get on his way to tapes. The referee, I should tell you, is Tony Steele from England here tonight. And there will be 3 referees doing the Grand Prix this year, and each will do 2. Tony Steele of England, Wolfgang Glass, the experienced official from Germany, and Istvan Darago of Hungary will be the other Grand Prix referees. So just 3 officials doing the Grand Prix this year. Tony Green is the man here. We'll have to keep an eye on that man, Henrik Gustafsson, who is running out of time to get back in the action. I don't think he'll run round that track in 30 seconds, but there's the machine. He might just make it if it's going now, but I wonder whether that machine has its engine properly warmed up, Peter.
Well, it looks as though he's ridden that bike before, Tony. It's got plenty of mud on the front of it, so I don't know why he was going to swap bikes in the first place, because he's probably had a win on this bike. But he's done very well to get there in time, because he could so easily have been excluded and gone out from that one, Tony. But we can see the girls there with the umbrellas. It's still pouring down here. There, Gustafsson's got his place on the start, and of course Thomas Golov, he's going to be the danger man in this one. There he is on the inside, and of course Greg Hancock there in the middle. He's going to be a real spoiler as well.
This is going to be fast and furious. Thomas Golov, of course, 3rd in the World Championship last year. Greg Hancock, a former World Champion. They're battling on the inside, line abreast as they go into the first minute. Golov comes through there. Didn't care who was in contention. Gustafsson is chasing him. Hancock is having a battle. The big guns are out. The battle is joined. Thomas Golov, of course, many have said will one day be the best rider in the world, and he's up against real talent here.
Yes, Golov desperately wants to be world champion. The years are ticking by. He's an exceptionally good rider. He's absolutely so keen to win, and we can see he's clean in this race. He's there staying in front, but what a determined first corner from Golov, and the way he's pulling away from Hancock here, he really means business.
Oh, going down there in a bundle is Henrik Gustafsson, and I wonder if the referee will have to stop this one. I hope he's not seriously hurt. They're not on the last lap, and if the red flags go out, it'll have to be rerun, and I wonder who'll be excluded here, because it looks as if Greg Hancock might have had something to do with the fall of Henrik Gustafsson as he tumbles into the fence, Peter Collins. We are going to have the first controversy of the Grand Prix season here as the rain tumbles down.
Tony, I wouldn't like to be the referee here. You can see that Hancock's come underneath there of Gustafsson. Gustafsson's gone down, hit his back straight in the fence, but it's a very difficult one because the track on the outside is very slippery, and we can see that Hancock's pushed Gustafsson onto that slippery bit, and there goes Henke sliding off into the fence. Now,
we have to look at that. I just felt that perhaps back in the studio in the bone dry that Kelvin perhaps was concerned about the raining, but here we go. We're away now, and this is heat number 13 without Henrik Gustafsson. And away goes Thomas Golov. The man is taking to this, the mudlark you can call him. In blue, there is Greg Hancock, and now down goes Andy Smith. Will they stop this one? I think Andy Smith's on his feet, so the referee will let it go. No red flags coming out. It means that Andy Smith will have to come back and try again, but these two will march on. Thomas Golob in red, Greg Hancock in blue. Now they know that both are going to qualify. There'll be no risk that Henke Gustafsson has crashed out, Andy Smith has crashed out, and the torrential rain is starting to tell.
Yeah, the difficult thing is trying to get some traction, Tony. It is so slippery. It's like riding a bike on an ice rink, really, without the spikes in the tyres. It's very difficult, but you can see Golob seems to be riding just on the edge of the slippery stuff. The back wheel just on where the dirt is. A little bit more grip out there. Again, he's using that berm round the inside, as did Greg Hancock, but they seem to be making mistakes. But Greg Hancock now zooms past Golob.
That's got to be tactical, play for places in their next race, because Greg Hancock has gone through to take it up from Thomas Golob. And I just wonder, we'll have a look at our sheets in a moment, because Thomas Golob is second and Greg Hancock is first, and that might just be tactical to work out just who they come up against in their next race. But there, the disappointed figure of Andy Smith. He may be disappointed because he's going to have to come out again in heat 15. And certainly Henrik Gustafsson will have a chance in fifth, but these two know what they're doing.
Yeah, we can see the start. Golob on the inside, that favourable position makes a good start there. Hancock in the blue, Greg there doesn't quite make it. Now Andy Smith makes a beautiful start on the outside. He's got a clear track on the outside, he's trying to get some grip out there, but Golob's just edging ahead. Now you can see Thomas, he comes across the front of Andy and stops him altogether, but Greg Hancock tries the big run round the inside, but he's still not got enough speed there to come by Golob. We can see Golob riding really well, but there's Andy Smith. Down he goes. Very similar to what happened to Henke Gustafsson. Again, that's down to the track conditions. Poor old Andy, he'll have to go in the next round, but at least he's still in it.
Well, he is still in it, but we know certainly that Thomas Golob and Greg Hancock, these two, Golob in the red helmet, Hancock in the blue one, will fight on, and they will now march on to be just one ride from the semi-finals. And certainly we're going to see Hans Nielsen coming out now, and he's going to be opposed by Chris Louis, Joe Screen and John Jorgensen. Hans Nielsen, the 3 times world champion, certainly individual world champion, also Grand Prix champion, of course. And we know that Hans Nielsen is the oldest rider in the field, but he is still somebody that is highly competitive and certainly very difficult to beat. His farewell season, and he has a staggering 22 FIM gold medals to his name in individual pairs and team competition. This man, Chris Louis now, the British captain, of course, you can see in the blue helmet colours, the World Under-21 champion back in 1990, and he's been India's most consistent rider in 4 Grand Prix seasons, but he's yet to win an individual title. I wonder if he can do it this year. Joe Screen in the white helmet colours. See him in the background there. And that man there coming out is Joe Screen, of course. Union Jack leathers have to follow all this season with those now riding the Hull Vikings in the British League.
Well, we're going to see what happens in this one, Tony. Now, Hans doesn't particularly like the wet tracks, but he has got that inside start position, so is he going to keep his leathers clean? Now, Joe Screen's going to be on gate 3. Now, we saw Joe go really well in those last couple of rides, and can he do it from that outside or that middle position there on gate 3? And, of course, we've got Chris Louis on gate 2. Now, Chris, this is his first ride also, so we'll be hoping for big things from Chris as well, Tony.
I'm still looking back to wonder what went wrong with Thomas Golob, or whether he was riding tactically for the place which he's actually now earned in heat 18, where he'll be coming up against Jimmy Nielsen. And I just wonder if he's got something different worked out, trying to avoid perhaps Hans Nielsen or whatever. Well,
I don't know. I mean, Thomas is always full of surprises, and you know, he could have had a bike problem or something there, but again, it could have been tactical, so who knows with Thomas Golob.
Who knows? Let's see what we know with this lot now. There in the yellow and black helmet colours. John Jorgensen, we've seen plenty of him already tonight. The rain pouring down. On the inside is Hans Nielsen. Next to him, Chris Louis. He's joined by fellow Brit Joe Screen, who's qualified, of course, through to this main event. And John Jorgensen, the Dane, is on the outside. Well, I just wonder whether they can finish this meeting in these conditions, because it really is appalling here. And the poor fans outside, we're in the warm, but the fans outside, umbrellas up, and it's not even warm. Well, there we are. We can see that gate 1, 46% success so far. And second best gate, gate 3 so far, you can see from those statistics. So gate 1 favours Hans Nielsen in this one. Away they go. Nielsen picks it up. Coming through in the white helmet colours there is Joe Screen. Round the outside, yellow and black. And pursuit of Nielsen is Jorgensen. But look at Screen coming through in white. Joe Screen has picked it up. He showed the talent that he possesses, known as the world's best all-round motorcyclist by some. Joe Screen knows which part of the track to ride. He's going wide, cutting it tight when it matters, and he's pursued by Hans Nielsen. And no mistakes now would see Joe Screen march on.
Yeah, Joe seems to be riding with such a lot of confidence there, but look at Hans Nielsen, down he goes.
Hans Nielsen is down, and look at that. There'll be arguments here. That was track conditions, no doubt. There was no other rider near him. The former world champion is down on the track. I can see now there being protests, and Hans suggesting that it's probably not fit to ride. But Joe Screen is delighted. The red flag is out there, I think, and there he goes. And nobody else was involved. What happened there, Peter?
You know, he just went into that corner there, Tony. He hit some bumps, some real grippy stuff, and he just could not get the back end to break away, Tony. These bikes with these lay-down engines, they tend to push very, very hard. Oh, you can see there, Hans, he totally lost his foot off the footrest on a bump. I mean, that wasn't down to the wet, that was just a bump on the turn, and Hans totally lost it going into the turn and did very, very well to actually not hurt himself. We can see the bike's leaping about like a bucking bronco, but of course, he's got his feet ahead of him, goes feet first into the fence, and he's lucky to be able to walk away from that. But
well, the inquest there, and Eric Gunderson is there. Peter, we've only had one Grand Prix called off before, as you know, in Germany a couple of years back. I just wonder now.
Well, you know, I don't really think that was down to, like I said, down to the wet. I think that was just a bump there on the track. They may want it graded, but I can see Hans getting excluded from this one because he was the cause of the stoppage. But we can see Hans on the inside. He's not made a real clean start. Joe Screen, Joe's missed it all together, but just look what he does now. He totally chops back right down to the line as Hans runs very, very wide. Hans has overshot the corner here. Also, John Jorgensen on the outside. Now, Joe has gone right around the inside. You can see he's gone straight through the inside there, and he's got a 10-metre lead before they come onto that back straight.
Well, until then, it was all right, but the bumps and bruises, well, Hans Nielsen certainly didn't like that, and I just wonder now. I mean, inquest is going to be, I'm sure. And away they go without Hans Nielsen. He was excluded. It means he will be back in heat 15. But here now the battle is joined. Joe Screen is out front again. Joe Screen showing he can cope with this track. But coming through, Jorgensen into second place. Chris Louis is certainly having problems in the third position. But now, look it up there. Disappointment too for Jorgensen. And this will allow the two Brits to march on. Couldn't be better.
Well, they're in first and second here. Jorgensen's gone out of the picture, but again, Screen, he made a great start off that gate 3. His engine, his bike must be working really, really well. I know Joe's worked very, very hard the last few weeks to get his engines right for this. Eddie Bull's been very, very busy tuning them for him, but Screeny seems to be riding very, very well. He's using those tram lines round the inside to his full advantage, and Chris Lewis also tucked in beside him, knowing that second place will be good enough to progress to the next round.
Yes, we can see that now because both of these know that no risks need to be taken. They've eliminated the other two. Hans Nielsen's gone, John Jorgensen is gone. Not a great day for the Danes, but certainly one for the Brits at the moment because they are marching on, and none better than this man, Joe Screen, who's shown the ability we've seen for a long while. Joe Screen, the 26-year-old, takes the honours there ahead of Chris Louis. And there the Union Jack on his leathers gives you no doubt at all as to the country for whom he is riding and cheering. Joe Screen the winner ahead of Chris Louis. No other finisher. But Joe, we can see there, knows he's achieved, well, partway towards what he's been wanting to. Could he go all the way? Joe Screen ahead of Chris Louis and John Jorgensen, and Hans Nielsen was excluded. It does mean that Hans Nielsen will be back in heat 15.
Now we can see this one again. There's Joe. Again, he makes that off gate 3. He is so determined. You can see he's got his legs well forward so the bike doesn't lift. Now he gets to the turn, and again he controls it very, very well. It would be very easy to rush in too fast and miss the turn altogether like we've seen so many times. He gets an almighty locker there, but controls it. He's standing up on the bike. He's got the inside covered as well, with Chris Louis trying up the inside. But at this point, Jorgensen's well in the picture as they race down the back straight. But Screeney, you can see there, he's riding round that inside, and he's trying to dry a patch out that he's going to ride every single time that he comes round. But there Jorgensen totally loses it, runs into the safety fence, and he did well to keep going there, Jorgensen, for the 3rd place.
Not a bad meeting so far for the Brits, and certainly John and Joe Screen there. Look at the state of that machinery. We know at the moment that things are certainly tough for the riders, and that man there in blue is Andy Smith. We saw the state he was in going into the last heat, but we know now what he's got to cope with there. The apparently blue sky you see in your picture in the background is actually a leaden sky, and the brightness being caused by the floodlights because weather conditions here in this stadium are absolutely appalling. So we're moving on now to heat number 15. I can tell you that the last 2 riders in this heat will be eliminated, and Hans Nielsen, who's due to come out in this one and ride from the outside, knows how tough it's going to be. That is the man who's finding it tough too, behind the lady with the umbrella, because that is Tony Rickardsson, the world champion who came 3rd in his first race in heat 11. So he has a lot to do as well. Andy Smith will be next to him in blue. Already up at tapes there in the white helmet colours is Michael Carlsen, and on the outside will be Hans Nielsen, and it will be a Hans Nielsen who will not look, I can tell you, his usual clean and immaculate self. It is tough. Peter Collins, have you ever ridden in these conditions?
Yes, I have, Tony, unfortunately. I rode in a world final in Gothenburg in about 1977 in these kind of conditions, and it really is horrendous. It is such a very, very important event, and have to go out there and do your stuff in that is very, very hard, and don't enjoy it one bit.
That was the year after you won your world title, so you had something to defend.
Yeah, well, I had a broken leg as well riding. I'd only done that sort of 6 days before, and you know, I was on crutches during the meeting, so that didn't help either, Tony, but I still managed to finish 2nd.
The clock on the bottom right indicates the 2 minutes running down for Hans Nielsen, who's now on his way to tapes and wearing the yellow helmet colour from the outside. And really, conditions here. Well, the man who wins this event is certainly going to know he's been working very, very hard indeed. There'll be a lot of work, including leathers and machinery, later on tonight. No time to go out for a meal, no time to explore Wenceslas Square tonight. Just clean the machinery and back off home. Well, here we are now then for heat 15. The reflection of the water. Tony Rickardsson on the inside. Andy Smith, gate 2. Michael Carlsen, gate 3. 2 Swedes, of course, Rickardsson and Carlsen. Andy Smith from Britain and Hans Nielsen from Denmark. And remember, the last 2 riders go out of this event. So we'll have to see exactly what happens now. This is heat 15, and it's going to be tough. And still, gate 1 holds a considerable advantage. Problems here now with machinery. The problems for Andy Smith. And things could go hopelessly wrong here because he is not allowed under the new regulations to leave his box position. He has to stay within reach of the tapes in box number 2, and up goes Andy Smith. Has been excluded, and that is desperately disappointing for Andy Smith. Under the 2-minute rule, it means effectively from the point scoring, he comes 4th in heat 15. It means he will get 5 Grand Prix points, and we will start this race with just 3 riders, with Andy Smith excluded through machine failure at the tapes. Hard luck indeed, Peter.
That's dreadful for Andy. You know, Andy's a real battler, and to go out like this is probably going to be his best performance so far in any Grand Prix in the whole of the, well, this is the 5th year of it, so I mean, it's real disappointing to see this for Andy.
But here we go with the remaining 3. Tony Rickardsson on the inside, skids there on the start, and coming across from the outside is Hans Nielsen. He won't want to make a mistake again. Rickardsson pursues him. Nielsen from Denmark, Rickardsson from Sweden. Rickardsson putting Nielsen under pressure, and wide he goes, Nielsen. He'd be worried about that with Michael Carlsen. Oh, Carlsen comes through into 2nd place, and could this be bye-bye Nielsen? He's got a lot to do in the remaining 2.5 laps.
Yes, Carlsen was the predator there. He sneaked by Hans Nielsen. Hans was in big trouble, having to come to terms with that real rough riding line round the inside. Peter Carlsen there's, Michael Carlsen, sorry, is tucked in right behind Tony Rickardsson. So these 2, probably the way it's going, will go through, and Nielsen would go out.
But Tony Rickardsson marches on. In 2nd place is Michael Carlsen. but it looks as if it's going to be bye-bye Hans Nielsen, and he's going to have to battle back from this Grand Prix. It's not often we can say that, but he's totally unsuited by the conditions in his farewell season to Speedway. But Tony Rickardsson has stormed back now ahead of Michael Carlson in white, who's qualified right through from the start. But we know now that the win there belongs to Rickardsson. Michael Carlson of Sweden is in second place. That's Sweden 1 and 2. And Hans Nielsen will tumble out in yellow in third place as the third place rider in heat number 15. And that means just 6 Grand Prix points for the many times world champion. There he is in third place, eliminated, and Andy Smith excluded, sadly.
Well, we can see this start. I really felt that Hans Nielsen was going to shine here. The Professor, he makes a brilliant start there from the outside position, pulls right across Michael Carlson there. Of course, Tony Rickardsson's on the inside. Now Hans totally boxes Rickardsson on that inside. You can see Hans, he's riding that tram line right round the inside there, controlled it absolutely perfectly. Now it looks as though Hans is going away for this win, but we can see him there going down the back straight. He seems as though he's going to pull away. Rickardsson in the red helmet is going to put pressure on him. We can see Rickardsson goes in very, very tight there. Tony in the red helmet pushes Hans. Now Hans possibly panics a little bit here, loses his rear leg, and suddenly straightens up when he hits that thing. Now he suddenly moves off onto the outside, very, very slippery out there. And Rickardsson suddenly gets on that tram line that Hans should have been on. That was a mistake there by Hans, because Michael Carlson also shot straight through on that tram line. Now that tram line is really working around the inside, and that is what you've got to be on right now, and that was a mistake from Hans. But coming out cold like he has done at this stage in the meeting, it's a shame for Hans, but there we go, out of the meeting.
Well, it's not often we see Hans Nielsen struggling like this, but he came off, and I don't think he really recovered from the tumble to provide him with his usual confidence. But never mind, the meeting, albeit with some difficulty, marches on. And this one, again, provides riders with talent, but also provides riders in this Heat 16 knowing that the last 2 men will be eliminated. The fourth rider will get 5 Grand Prix points, the third rider will get 6, and then, well, the top 2 will march on. In this one there in the blue helmet colours is John Jorgensen. His machinery, of course, looking certainly distinctly dirty. John Jorgensen, the Dane. And certainly from his point of view, don't see much of him in Britain these days, but British clean place used to rule with Coventry. Second oldest rider in the field, actually. I made a mistake early on with my estimation that that belonged to Tony Casper. First rode in England back in 1982 for Birmingham. That man in red is Ron Sullivan, still looking immaculately clean. Ron Sullivan from the... It's quite interesting when we look back, because we saw the fury in the pits of the Danes with Henrik Gustafsson, his team manager, and Brian Anderson, and we understand that Anderson's failure to make the tapes was down to Henrik Gustafsson telling him the wrong heat he was due in. Now that is disappointing for the Coventry rider, who will see in our first live league meeting next Thursday here on Sky. But here, in the blue helmet colours, another ex-Coventry man, John Jorgensen. Man in white there is Peter Carlson from Wolverhampton. We'll see him on Thursday as well. The outside is Henrik Gustafsson. There's the lineup. Ron Sullivan from Australia, John Jorgensen from Denmark, Peter Carlson, Henrik Gustafsson, both from Sweden. Last 2 go out, first 2 march on. The rain continues. In fact, the umbrellas have gone down a little bit, Peter. I think outside it's actually slightly dry, perhaps. The rain has eased up. The
rain's eased off, Tony. I think we're going to get a bit of a dry spell again.
Here we go there. Will it be dry for Sullivan on the inside? Left at the tapes is Gustafsson. It means he will tumble out. But now the battle is joined out front between Ron Sullivan in red and John Jorgensen in blue, who picks it up. Back in third place is Peter Carlson in the white helmet colour. We identify them by helmets. At least they're staying clean. Out front and pulling away now. Shock here, John Jorgensen. Ahead of in second place in white is Peter Carlson. Oh, they're changing places all over the place now, because through in red is Sullivan. Carlson is back in third. It's spreading out, and it looks to me as if Jorgensen is going to win it now with some comfort, picking the dry part of the track.
Yes, Tony. You notice there, Jorgensen, he rode a great first lap there, because it's so difficult out there, but they're all hugging that inside line, riding that There's about a yard of track that they can use at the moment, but now the rain's stopped. Hopefully the track may dry and they can start riding a bit wider. As they keep riding, throw the wet stuff further out and make the racing line wider. Those bikes.
Battle there for the man in white. We saw, sorry to interrupt, Peter Carlson. He will be eliminated and he can go home and prepare himself for that league meeting next Thursday live on Sky. And yes, he can come through here, which he does. Peter Carlson forces his way through there to relegate Ron Sullivan to the back. And another shock as Ron Sullivan is eliminated. Peter Carlson comes through, and certainly from that point of view, John Jorgensen marches on. But another shock as Ron Sullivan, totally unprepared on that last bend, was pipped by Carlson, and well, he tumbles out. That, Peter, is a shock. Ron Sullivan, was he looking? Did he make a mistake? What happened, do you think?
Well, we'll see it in the replay, but we can see the start here. Now you can see the rider on the inside. Ryan Sullivan makes a good start there, but of course Henke Gustafsson on the outside, his motor or his bike packed up. Maybe it's got water in it or something, but we can see Sullivan, he started off great. He's riding round that inside line, as we said. But there on the outside, John Jorgensen, he's picking up some grip from somewhere, just enough to edge ahead there as they come onto the back straight. Now Sullivan's sort of trying hard there. Ryan's really having a go down the inside. He knows it's very, very tricky now going into this corner. This is the corner that Hans had all his problems with. He's riding very cautiously, but what actually happened here there, where Jorgensen's on the inside, Jorgensen went in a little bit slow into that corner and Sullivan almost ran in the back of him, so he moved off that line, and of course as soon as he moved off that inside line, Carlson was right on there and he got so much grip and just overtook him on the last turn. But we could see earlier there Carlson was on that inside line. You can see how much grip there is there on that inside.
Well, we've had some shocks. We've already seen two of the main protagonists in Hans Nielsen and Ron Sullivan, who came in after, of course, we completed the first 10 heats, and they were in the main event automatically, and they've gone out as quickly as it's been possible. But now we're coming up to heat 17, and the man that Peter Collins has been tipping all night is Tony Casper. And Tony Casper, riding on his home track, will be going from the inside in this heat 17, with Greg Hancock, the American, next to him. Stefan Dano, the Swede, will go from gate 3, and England's Chris Louis will be going from the outside. There is Chris Louis moving away from the pits in the yellow and black helmet colour. That's him, his bike, he's cleaned it off a little bit, but already up at tapes. We can see Tony Casper and Greg Hancock. This, I think, will be competitive. Look at the mud there, Peter, down at the start camera, picking it up well now, and the rain starting to come down a little bit again.
Yeah, when we're at this stage, Tony, one of the important things is to try and keep your equipment clean and functioning properly. I mean, this mud gets inside clutches, inside cables, carburetors. It gets absolutely everywhere, and that can cause big problems. So if you can make a start and keep clean, then you know you can stay out of that and hopefully avoid that.
There's the lineup then, with Tony Casper going from the inside of Greg Hancock. Casper the Czech, Hancock the American, Stefan Dano the Swede from gate 3, and Chris Louis, the Great Britain captain, he goes from the outside. Come on, Chris, we say here. Away they go. Chris Louis makes it well, but coming wide and moving out from the inside gate is Tony Casper, the man who knows the track like the back of his hand. Work to be done for the rest. Chris Louis disappointing at the moment. He has a lot to do, but out front, Casper going wide where it matters. Does he know something? No, he doesn't. Casper has made a mistake there, and going through in the blue helmet colours is Greg Hancock. And now, could the shocks come about again? In white, in second place is Stefan Dano. Disappointment for Chris Louis at the back. Casper now has to battle. It's all turning on its head.
Yeah, Casper threw that away really. He knows you've got to stay on that inside line, but he's pressuring Stefan Dano. Now, if Dano does move off that line, Casper will be in there to get that second place, because it's real important, Tony, at this stage.
Well, it certainly is, but Greg Hancock out front knows what he's doing, and Greg Hancock knows that he's going to keep in front. Greg Hancock in the blue helmet colour there. The Team Excite, the Excite-sponsored American, of course, the world champion just a couple of years back. And now Greg Hancock showing that he can cope with most tracks, but it looks as if Casper will in the end have to live to fight another day. He can come back. Remember, you have to finish third or fourth twice in a row to go tumbling out. But there he's coming through, and he's, oh, I think, though, he just failed to get second place there. I think Dano just held on to it, but there's no doubt about the winner in blue, Greg Hancock. It was certainly tight on the line. For my money, Stefan Dano just held on to it. ahead of Tony Casper in red. That's how the referee, Mr. Green, has called it. But disappointment for Chris Louis in last place in yellow and black. But an eventful heat, Peter.
Oh, wasn't it just? Yeah, we're seeing all sorts of shocks here, but Casper's still in there anyway. But we can see here on the start, the rider in white there, Stefan Dano, he's got his head down, his front wheel's slightly off the ground, but there's Tony Casper, makes a great start off the inside. Now, Greg Hancock's totally missed it, but the two riders on the outside, they're totally in the wrong position. Poor old Chris Louis on the outside is right in that real wet, heavy, slippery stuff. But just look there, Casper's riding that inside really well as he goes down the back straight. Now at this point you think Casper's never going to be touched, but Greg Hancock's trying so hard. He's going to make sure he holds it on that inside. Again, they crossed that real rough bit, but look at Casper's bike. Casper's bike straightened up just as Hans Nielsen's did. He managed to keep the foot on the footrest though, but runs very, very wide, and that cost him definitely the win in that race. Casper's looking across, knowing he's made a massive mistake, because not only did Greg Hancock go by him, but so did Stefan Dano.
Well, disappointment indeed, but Tony Casper does live to fight another day. It means he'll be out in heat 19. He'll be up against Tony Ricardson and Peter Carlson so far, and whoever comes last in this next heat. And this next heat is the result of that amazing incident with Thomas Golob. We saw him, we thought he was going to beat Greg Hancock. He came in second, which means that was in heat 13, which means he'll have the outside gate here. And in yellow and black, that is Thomas Golob. There we are. And wearing the number 3, of course, because he came third in the world title last year. He'll be going from the outside. It's Jimmy Nielsen on the inside. One ride, one win so far. Next to him is Joe Screen, for whom we've seen some fine performances already tonight. And we, of course, have high hopes. And the talented Australian who was born in Bristol, Jason Crump, goes from gate 3. There's the continued advantage of gate number 1. 41% of all success tonight goes to that gate. Conditions getting worse, it seems, but at least the rain has stopped again. Umbrellas have gone down, and away we go now for heat number 18. Tapes go up, away from the inside goes Jimmy Nielsen, comes across to shut them out, and cutting through on the inside, or trying to in blue, is Joe Screen, but now in white it's Jason Crump, and Thomas Golob is struggling at the back, and Thomas Golob could be going out here if it stays like this. He could be, well, he's got to come back and try again, but I'm not quite sure whether he can do it. Here they go on the inside there in blue is Joe Screen, riding brilliantly once again. And Joe Screen out in pursuit. Can he keep going there? The man out front is Jimmy Nielsen, is looking with some comfort. Screen in pursuit. In white it's Jason Crump, and at the back is Thomas Golob. And I just wonder if he's got something wrong with his machinery, and that's why he went wrong in the previous race. Nothing wrong with the man out front, Jimmy Nielsen.
Could have been Tony, but look at Screeny there, he's holding Jason Crump off. I mean, Jason is trying so hard, he's all over the back of Joe Screen, but Joe's holding it on that inside line. He's not drifted off yet. If he can just stay there for one more lap, then he'll go forward to the further stages than Jason will.
Well, it'll mean that Crump has got to try again. It'll mean it's a little bit more comfortable for Joe Screen, but he's battled through, and he's doing brilliantly tonight. He will hold him off there. The race won by Jimmy Nielsen. In second place, Joe Screen. Third was Jason Crump, and Thomas Golob at the back. Well, he will have more to do. So too will Jason Crump. It's a bit easier for Jimmy Nielsen and Joe Screen, but we know now that the last man there, Thomas Golob, will have to ride in the next heat, where he'll come up against Tony Ricardson, Peter Carlson and Tony Casper. So Golob has more to do. The man who came third in that one, Jason Crump, will come up against Ricardson, Carlson and Casper for a place in the semi-finals.
Yes, look at this, Tony. Joe Screen's missed the gate altogether. Rider in red, Jimmy Nielsen, from the inside, again sat in his armchair. What a start from him, but Joe tucked in there for that second place.
Well, there we are, and in the pits, but it's dry for them, isn't it? They'll like a few minutes rest. Heath, as you said, well, the position's quite clear from heats 19 and 20. The first two riders in each go through to the semi-finals. The last two are eliminated, and this is the first of 6 Grand Prix. This one in Prague. Lovely city, but not tonight. And this sees now heat number 19 coming up. There on the outside is Thomas Golob. On the inside, it's two Swedes, Tony Ricardson and Peter Carlson. Tony Casper on his home country goes from gate 3, and Thomas Golub from the outside. Remember, the first two go through to the semi-finals. The last two are eliminated and will get respectively 7 and 8 Grand Prix points, or 8 and 7 in the order in which they finish. This is heat number 19. World champion Tony Rickardsson on the inside. Peter Carlson, who rides for Wolverhampton in England, goes from gate 2. Tony Casper, who rode in England last Saturday for Eastbourne, goes from gate 3, but this is his home country. And on the outside, Thomas Golub, who races in Britain for Ipswich, and he has a bit to do. He's been disappointing in his last two rides. The nerve ends, Peter Collins, will be jangling just a little now.
Oh, I think so. We're getting to the stage now where it's beginning to count. There's a lot of Grand Prix points now. Top points available, and they're all going for it, Tony.
Ah, Rickardsson is excluded. Rickardsson is eliminated. Now, that is a transgression of the rules, and I'm not quite sure what has happened there. He seemed to be in his box okay. There seemed to be no problem whatsoever, but there is the red exclusion for Tony Rickardsson, and that, Peter Collins, I somehow cannot understand what's happened.
Well, it's a difficult one. I'm struggling to see the reason for this, but possibly it's something like he was delaying the start or something, Tony. Possibly it's delaying the start. He was there up at the gate, but he wasn't right up to the tapes. Maybe the referee felt they want to get on with the meeting as quick as they can. Now we've got a break in the rain, and Tony's riding straight back into the pits there, but I'm sure he's going to get straight onto that phone.
Well, he won't get much chance because Tony Green's going to restart it here, the English referee. And I can tell you his words before the start of the meeting. I'm delighted and honoured to have this appointment. Everything went well in practice, but it's not gone too well for that man, Tony Rickardsson. He is out and away we go now. And coming from the outside is Thomas Golub. He left the starting box, we understand. We'll talk about that in a moment because that's a new rule this year. But there in the white helmet colours there is Tony Casper. He's pursuing Thomas Golub. Golub's out front. No chance at the moment for Peter Carlson. Golub back to form. Golub and Casper will march on to the semi-finals. And the Eastern Europeans are doing it in the conditions. And disappointment for Peter Carlson of Sweden as they stretch out. Not as big as the disappointment for that man, Tony Rickardsson. You saw there excluded, but this is going well for these two.
Yeah, now the rain stopped, Tony. You can see that inside line's getting wider and wider. They're now moving out. That slippery stuff's moving further and further away and giving them a much better track to race on. But we can see there that Golub made a great start from the outside, but he's still, even though he's a little bit wide there, he's still managing to stay ahead there of Tony Casper. But if it stays like this, again, Casper is in with a chance of getting into that final, because I put my name on Casper right at the beginning, so we'll see what happens.
You did, and the Eastbourne fans enjoyed his performance at Arlington last Saturday, but here out front now is Thomas Golub. Golub is going to take the checkered flag and move on to the semi-finals. Ahead of in white, Tony Casper. The Czechs are cheering, the Poles are cheering, but there's abject disappointment for the Swedes because Peter Carlson in blue tumbles out. Tony Rickardsson was eliminated at the start, and the Eastern Europeans are enjoying the rain of Prague this evening because they are going well. None better than those two, Thomas Golub and Tony Casper.
Well, we can see the start there. There's Chris Louis on the outside. Sorry, Thomas Golub on the outside. What a start he makes from there. He seems to have everything under control. Like I say, that racing line has now got wider. You can see Thomas's back wheel. He's getting a lot of grip on that mid-track there. The track's starting to come good again, just at the right moment. You can see smoke coming off Michael Carlson's tyre there as he takes that bend. But, of course, Golub's going away and Casper's tucking him behind for that second place. So they're definitely now going into the top 8.
Well, the winner of Heat 19 is Thomas Golub, and that means that he moves through into the semi-final Heat 21, and that means that he'll be wearing the blue helmet collars and going there with Greg Hancock and Joe Screen. That's what that result decides, and the place for the second place man, Tony Casper, means that he, as the second place man in Heat number 19, will in fact be going along at the moment with Jimmy Nielsen and Stefan Dano. So we're going to have some shocks here as they reach the final. But certainly disappointment that Tony Rickardsson and Peter Carlson are eliminated, and two more will go out from this number heat number 20. The lineup in this has the Dane there in red, John Jorgensen. He goes from the inside gate. Next to him, Michael Carlson from Sweden. Michael Carlson in gate 2. Now problems there, they must come up into that box when told to by the starting marshal, and Tony Rickardson apparently hung back from the tapes, didn't come into his box and was excluded by the British referee Tony Green, or Tony Steele rather. I should keep calling him Mr. Green, it's Tony Steele. But Steele, tonight he needs it. John Jorgensen on the inside. It's Michael Carlson, M. Carlson, that should be, in gate 2. Jason Crump, gate 3, and Chris Louis on the outside in yellow and black. Last 2 eliminated, first 2 go to the semi-finals, and to the first bend there is Jason Crump. Crump stretching the lead in front of John Jorgensen. Disappointment again for Chris Louis at the back. Battle joined with Michael Carlson, trying to put some pressure on Jorgensen. But in front of these is Jason Crump, who's riding brilliantly. Could Jason Crump have another Grand Prix victory? A win here will take him into the semis. And that man there in red, John Jorgensen, could go to the semis as well. And that would mean that Carlson and Louis would tumble out. We'll have to see with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, Jason's riding really well. I mean, he didn't get a chance to show himself in that first ride that he had because he was stuck behind Joe Screen, but now he's really going well. As the track's improving, Jason's going to be a big force now, that's for sure. He's at least 50 metres in front here of John Jorgensen, but John Jorgensen's doing exceptionally well to get so far in this, and he's certainly doing himself proud.
Well, we're seeing a number of riders who battle through all quarters of this meeting now, coming through with a vengeance towards the end, and I just wonder how much it has been that they've been able to ride the track all night and adjust to its vagaries. But here now, Jason Crump, he of course came in at the main event, and Jason Crump is going to win this with some comfort. He takes the checkered flag ahead of in second place, John Jorgensen, and disappointment now for Michael Carlson and Chris Louis, who will be eliminated. But look at the determination of Jason Crump there, because he knows that he's through. Chris Louis finishing 3rd in yellow and black. Michael Carlson 4th in blue. It means that the last 2 are eliminated. That's Chris Louis and Michael Carlson. And the first 2, Jason Crump and John Jorgensen, march on. So as far as we are concerned, we know now who the stars of this meeting are so far. There's still time to come.
Yeah, we can see Jason off that gate.
From the heats, the other 3 were seeded through to heat 11, so can Screeny hang on and get himself into a final? Tony Millard, this is going to be tough, and you're going to be sweating with it.
I'm sweating already, because I can tell you here that Greg Hancock is on the inside of Joe Screen. Screeny wearing the blue helmet colours. In gate 3 now, in the white helmet colours is John Jorgensen, and the outside in yellow and black is Thomas Golov. And this is really competitive now. And certainly Golov went ever so well from that outside gate last time. And if he could do it again, well, who knows? The familiar leathers of Thomas Golov there, the number 3 at the back of his back wheel. But let's look at the inside and who's going to make it away from the tapes. This is crucial. Hancock's moving fast. Golov's coming the outside in yellow and black. Golov's come right across. Going wide is Jorgensen, who looks out of it, but now is coming through again. But Greg Hancock pursuing Golov. These 2, oh, look at the back there. Oh dear, I felt that, Peter Collins. And so too did he, because Joe Screen has tumbled out of this surely. I don't know if anybody touched him, whether it's track conditions, but thankfully Joe is clearly conscious, but in some pain. Joe Screen, look at this.
We can see this there, God. Jorgensen comes underneath Joe, and Joe locks up and the bike spits him off on the high side, and he slides straight into the fence there on his back head first. Fortunately, he managed to hit the fence right, but it's a horrendous crash. He spins round there, but when he hits the fence, he hits it face first, and he seems to be holding his arm as though he's possibly damaged his wrist or something. But Joe's a tough boy, you know, but we'll just see if he has actually done anything serious to his wrist.
But Peter, he had absolutely no chance there. Once John Jorgensen touched him, Screeny was always going to go up, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, look at Jorgensen. Jorgensen draws alongside Joe, but Joe races into the corner, turns it, but suddenly the bike gets a lot of grip in the back end and just throws him straight off, and then he runs straight into the fence. But when he hits the fence, he doesn't slide along it. He just stops exactly dead and doesn't move, like just as though Hans Nielsen did in that earlier ride.
While he's on his feet, he's battered, he's bruised, and he's certainly muddy. And I just wonder what the lads in the studio make of that one, because really, look at this. I mean, Joe Screen taking a tumble, battered, bruised, and certainly, lads back in the studio, what about that?
Here it is then. We're here with Kelvin Tatum and Sam Amalenko. A horrendous crash here. Sam, talk us through it.
Well, from here it looks like he didn't quite make the start, obviously, so he's basically going to plan B. You see Jorgensen and White kind of slow up, go to the outside, and for some reason they come together in turn 3, and we'll have to just kind of wait till we get there and see.
Kelvin, that was a hell of an accident.
Yeah, it was. Joe's sort of swept underneath John Jorgensen there, but John's turned back and gets his wheels in line a little bit earlier, and so it's a tight corner coming here. And Joe's just on the outside. There's not a lot of room, and he's gone there, and he's gone right down there. Very similar to what happened with
Greg.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, he did. I mean, Screeny was helped off that one, wasn't he? He had an exhaust pipe rub his leg out from under him. I mean, what's the story as far as the referee's concerned?
He's got no choice but to exclude somebody.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. But which one? I mean, we saw it there.
I suggest it will be Joe Screen.
I mean,
Joe Screen then.
It's the same thing that happened with Hank and Greg Hancock, and he did take...
It's really tough, that. It's a narrow corner there, the entrance to it, and 2 bikes side by side, there isn't enough room. It's just, unfortunately, that you get caught. Here we can see it again.
Talk us through it then, gents.
Well, you can see Jorgensen's got right alongside Joe. He's not doing anything wrong. He hasn't moved off the line, but Joe's in a position where the bike's locked up underneath him, high-sided, and thrown him into the fence.
For that split second, he tried to save it, but he was too far sideways and just...
Yeah. Bike's just let go on, and the surface underneath him's like ice, and just let go, and then the footrest is dug in and just spat him off over the wrong way.
I would say he was very lucky the bike didn't catch him up in the turn there. So he smacked the fence quite hard. He's holding his wrist at the moment. Joe Screen is going to go through into the big decision by the look of it. Oh, there's a bike out there.
They've got another bike there with Hagen shocks all over it, so
well, we'll
maybe
find
it'll
out
be...
whether Screen is going back out again.
I obviously want him to go back out.
So, well, obviously his team are making him ready just in case the decision goes his way, but we're fairly clear in here that he probably isn't going to make a start. In fact, looking at that, there's no blue umbrella there from the girls, so I would say blue is out of here as far as that's concerned. So no blue.
Shame.
I quite like her too.
Shame. But, you know, with all the hard work and the build-up, he's come such a long way through the meeting.
Well, there's Screeny's boys warming up another bike, getting it ready for him. Clearly the bike he was riding ain't going anywhere for a bit and stepped into the back of the van.
No. Well, he's in the consolation race.
Indeed, so he will go through to the consolation final. Still good Grand Prix points for him. He's been a fighter all the way through this Grand Prix.
Absolutely. He'll go home, although he'll be a bit sore, he'll go home happy because, you know, he's come through from the first half and he's gained a lot of points in conditions where a lot of so-called higher-seeded riders haven't.
If he wins the consolation final, then he's 5th overall. So I mean, that's definitely something to go for.
Yeah.
Good points indeed. We're not going to miss the point here. We can go back now straight away to Peter Collins and Tony Millard in the commentary position.
An excellent spot by Keith with the blue umbrella missing. First time that they've done it correctly tonight. The umbrella shouldn't have come out if they're excluded, but they are, and you can see that Joe Screen's missing. Just 3 away here now. Greg Hancock on the inside, but coming across is Thomas Golob predictably. Golob picks it up. Hancock has another go. Pursuing in white is Jorgensen. Jorgensen back in 3rd now, but out front, Golob now is stretching that. Golob is back to form. Golob is getting fast again, Peter.
He certainly is, Tony, and if he wins this, he's going to be in the A final. And the way he's going, he's going to be a big threat because the track is now improving. It's going to suit him better. That bike that was faulty at first, he seems to have got over that. This one seems to be really quick, so he's going to be a massive threat in that final.
Thomas Golob then knows exactly which part of the track he wants. That man there in white is John Jorgensen, who's been the surprise of the night. He will get a place in the consolation final, along with Joe Screen if it stays like this. But the front 2, which are Golob and Hancock, will now be into the semi-finals and competing for a place in that grand final, because we know now what is going to happen here. It's certainly getting competitive, and the big names are making it on their way here now, because there is Thomas Golob with time to look back to Greg Hancock, and Golob wins it ahead of Hancock. In 3rd place is John Jorgensen, and with the other man, Joe Screen, eliminated, it's Thomas Golob and Greg Hancock that march on. And who would bid against that man, Thomas Golob, through to the final with Greg Hancock, against Golob winning the Grand Prix here tonight, because he's won his semi-final with some comfort against Greg Hancock. John Jorgensen and Joe Screen compete in the consolation.
Well, we can see Golob there on the outside. It's a long way from the outside, but he's so determined. Now there's Greg Hancock on the inside. He's made a good start too. They've both gone by John Jorgensen as they get to that first turn, but of course with only 3 riders out there, it makes it that little bit more easy. They've got a little bit more space when they get to the corner, but Golob He's just riding quite high, just enough to get that run around the outside of Greg Hancock. But of course, those two are going into the A final. But like we said earlier, the track's definitely improving now. The rain's sort of eased off, and there's Golub over the finish on the back wheel, and I'm sure he's real happy with that after that bad start that he made earlier on.
Well, we know that Joe Screen and John Jorgensen will be in the consolation final. Screen, we know, will be on a different machine. We know that Thomas Golub and Greg Hancock will be through to the A final, and it'll be a while before we sort out the big points draws from tonight's campaign. But we move on to Heat 22, which is the second semi-final, and this brings to the track Jimmy Nielsen, Jason Crump, Stefan Dano and Tony Kasper. And this too is going to be competitive, because Jimmy Nielsen's from Sweden, Stefan Dano's from Sweden, Tony Kasper, well, he's been pretty impressive tonight here, and these sort of track conditions, a big track here seems to suit Stefan Dano. Although his recent British League experience, Peter, has been in the smaller track at Eastbourne.
That's right, Stefan's a real star at Eastbourne, but he's opted to stay in Sweden and do the Swedish League this year and concentrate on his GPs. And, you know, he's still in there, so I mean, it certainly seems to be working for him, Tony.
There we are then. Jimmy Nielsen is on the inside in red. Stefan Dano is wearing blue. Jason Crump is wearing white. And Tony Kasper is in yellow and black on the outside. Remember, the first two go through to the final. The second two go to the consolation final. They're still in line for substantial Grand Prix points in tonight. Away they go from the tapes down. On the inside, Jimmy Nielsen is in red, and yellow on the outside. Going round is Kasper. In white is Jason Crump, and the battle is joined. But look at coming through in blue is Stefan Dano. He goes inside and under Jason Crump, but Crump battles hard, and the battle is really joined. It's a competitive race. And look at those two there coming through. Jason Crump waving to Stefan Dano as he goes by, determined in the extreme.
Yeah, he wasn't actually waving, Tony. He was pulling his tear off because his goggles were covered in dirt and he was clearing them, but it looked as though he was waving, and he could have been. But you can see there he did a great manoeuvre there when Dano overtook him on the inside, drifted a little bit wide. Jason was on the ball because he cut straight back underneath him coming out the turn, and again surprised Dano, and really that was a marvellous ride there from Jason. But of course, there's Jimmy Nielsen sat out on his armchair in front.
Yeah, well, Jimmy Nielsen, of course, every time you keep winning, you get the inside gate all the way. And Jimmy Nielsen will get the inside gate against Golub if he wants it in the final, because he'll have a lower racing number. And that's what's going to count, I think, towards the end, because Jimmy Nielsen is going, oh, look at this one, almost coming off there. And Dano recovers, certainly. Crump recovers there, and certainly it's all happening here. But Jimmy Nielsen has been wheel perfect all night. And certainly from his point of view, he knows, look at that disappointment for Jason Crump. What on earth has happened there? It looks as if he's completely seized, Jason Crump, but he's there, and Stefan Dano back in third place, but I don't know, in the end there it was certainly tough.
Yeah, I think Jason actually went down after he'd finished the race, Tony. I think the back wheel just pushed him into that mud, and he just slid off into the fence. And his bike now, his good bike, if that is the one, the clutch will be full of mud and everything, so he's got a lot of work on now to get himself sorted for that A final. But we can see there, Jimmy Nielsen, he didn't actually make the perfect start, he didn't make the perfect corner, he runs into Jason there going straight, but he's used Jason to turn, to be perfectly honest, because that's straightened Jimmy up, and Jason he's pushed Jimmy straight into the lead there. But you know, Jason never gives up, he's going to keep trying. Now Stefan Dano comes into the picture there in the blue, he hits Jason's back wheel now, he nudges Jason off that inside line. Jason's a little bit too wide. We can see now that Dano has got that inside run, he thinks he's got that second place. Crumpy looks across, sees the coast clear to dive up the inside, you see his bike dead straight as he just zooms straight round the inside there of Stefan Dano to take that second place. And there we go, doing his tear-offs. But this must be after the race there. We can see here that Jason in the white helmet, he's been pushed very, very wide, but he's just got enough speed to cross the line in that second place.
We've got to see this, because I just wonder if it, look at this here, because Jason Crump was struggling in the extreme here, and he just about made it with Stefan Dano coming through and makes the final.
And the grade, he put all the slush on the inside, and I was digging away and trying to get rid of all the slush, and I got away with it in the rut. I went in it and I just got stuck on the exhaust pipe. So I was just quick jumping up, kick in a new one and was ready. And then they excluded me for the 2 minutes. I mean, you never know if it's like 1:40 or 1:59 left of the 2 minutes when you're up there. And I mean, that's just delaying the meeting even more and just robbing my chances of trying to do well. And it was such a good opportunity for me too. We swapped bikes and we felt we had improved their setup on it. So I had a very good opportunity to go off one there and maybe do some damage for the other one. And instead they excluded me, and so I have to admit I feel a little bit bitter. You know, it's not the way that the guys went out and smoked me. You know, I got put to the side. They couldn't defend it. So what do you do? I mean, it's sport, but I feel a little bit bitter, I have to admit.
Thanks, Tony. Good luck in the next one, anyway.
Tell you they're sorting out the gate positions, and certainly from this point of view it's going to be important here as to exactly how they go, but they're battling for positions 5 to 8, and we know that Stefan Dano's in blue there. We can see him. Joe Screen is in white there on a totally new machine, as you can see, and basically Tony Kasper is on the outside and Jorgensen is on the inside. Kasper goes from the outside gate in yellow and black, and he's been going quite well from that point, and away he goes, and he comes across Tony Kasper. Can he pick it up here? Kasper's out in front. In second place in red is Jorgensen. Jorgensen drops back. Now is Dano in blue, is in second place. Stefan Dano's there. Out front is Tony Kasper. Kasper going well in front of Dano. Kasper's going to make this. Kasper will earn 5th place in the Grand Prix, his best yet. He's going well, and down goes Stefan Dano. Piles into the fence. He gets up. The referee won't have to stop this one, but Stefan Dano has suffered another victim of the conditions, Peter.
Yes, he did. He moved off that inside line, straight onto that slippery stuff on the outside, and down he went. We've seen it so many times tonight, but that moved Joe Screen up a place, so he'll probably finish 7th if it ends up like this. But of course, they've got no answer to Kasper there, who is miles out in front. He's really going quick.
Yes, Tony Kasper salutes the crowd. He knows he's going to have 5th place in the Grand Prix. Has time to wave at them, change his tear-offs as he goes down the back straight. He's got time in hand to give them the thumbs up under the floodlights here. The rain has stopped, the umbrellas have gone down, the cheers are here. But Tony Kasper, whose victory in the consolation final gives him 5th place in the Grand Prix. And Tony Kasper will cherish that as his best performance yet, because he rode as a wild card throughout last season, gained 2 top 8 positions last year, and certainly the 6 times Czech Republic champion is pleased with that. Kasper, Jorgensen, Screen and Dano in that order. Peter, you said he'd do well. He's done pretty well.
Yes, he has. He's finished 5th overall, which is marvellous, really. I think he could have gone better, but for a bit of bad luck. But we can see him on the outside. Like I say, it's a long way from that outside position, but he comes right across the front of everybody. You can see there Joe Screen misses it altogether, but Kasper's already got this race under control. He's dropped right down there on Dano. He's stopped Dano diving round the inside. You can see Joe Screen out there on that clean bike, but it's not going to stay clean for long. But of course, Kasper's now pulling away. Screeny on his Hagen Shocks machine there, but there you can see there's where Dano made his big mistake. Again, he moved off that inside, lost control and slid off into the fence. That's happened so many times tonight, but you can't take anything from away from Kasper. There's Dano again, off into the fence. Fortunately, he keeps hold of the bike and doesn't hit it too hard, but what a ride for Kasper, 5th overall.
Well, certainly Stefan Dano making the effort to complete it. Valuable Grand Prix points for him, but the 15 points for Tony Kasper will certainly keep him in contention. And certainly as the current world continental champion, he rides as a fully fledged member, although he's a wildcard only before. He's a fully fledged member of the Grand Prix circus. And that man, Stefan Dano's had a great night. Well, he goes home covered in mud. Peter Collins tells you his is Jason Crump. I can tell you I'm going for Thomas Golov. I'm sure he'll have the crowd behind him. Thomas Golov 3 Grand Prix behind, but look at this, Jason Crump. But remind you, ladies and gentlemen, you can watch Elite Speedway League live on Sky this coming Thursday. Coventry Bees against Wolverhampton. That's live 7:30 next Thursday night. We'll be at the Brandon Stadium at Coventry for Coventry against Wolverhampton. I wonder whether it's going to be as good as this final. Certainly in this event, we know that Greg Hancock will be there. There are all sorts of rumours concerning Billy Hamill as well. We know the Carlson boys will be there in the Wolverhampton lineup. Stars abound at Brandon Stadium, live on Sky next Thursday. Now the final here. Jimmy Nielsen on the inside from Sweden. Greg Hancock, the USA, gate 2. Jason Crump, Australia, gate 3. And Thomas Golob from Poland on the outside. And away they go. It's Golob to the apex. It's Golob in front. 3 Grand Prix victories previously. Hancock, the previous world champion, is battling. Crump is coming through. This final is getting the crowd to their feet. But Golob is out front. Golob is fast and furious. He's even got time to look back. He's got something in hand, Peter Collins.
Yes, he has, but Crumpy's trying hard, but Greg Hancock's having a run round the inside. Golob seems to be pulling away now, though. He seems to have something special, and that's exactly what you need in a big final like this, Tony.
Thomas Golob with the yellow and black helmet. The Polish fans here in Prague have come across the border to support him. Back in second place, former world champion Greg Hancock. Back in third place, well, they don't really matter there. They'd be piling up the Grand Prix points, but the cheers are here from the Poles. But Greg Hancock in blue there, the American Team Exide man, is chasing him all the way. In third place in white is Jason Crump, and fourth is Jimmy Nielsen. So Jimmy Nielsen's inside gate didn't benefit. This may be processional, but we've got class speedway riders in a class event, and they're really showing their class here now, because Thomas Golob takes the checkered flag. Thomas Golob wins his 4th Grand Prix title. Could he go on to be world champion? The Polish fans are going absolutely mad. Thomas Golob knows that he's won it. He is the first Grand Prix winner this year. The handshaking from Jason Crump, but Thomas Golob, and look at those fans, they are absolutely delighted. And the Poles will be celebrating in Wenceslas Square tonight. And he's the highest paid sportsman in Poland, and they say Speedway there is bigger than football. They're certainly making a noise here in the Margareta Stadium. Look at those fans. The celebrations, he can stand on there like a circus horse. The highest paid sportsman in Poland has made even more money here in the Margareta Stadium in Prague to win the Speedway's first Grand Prix of the year. And Greg Hancock, well, he did his bit. And certainly Peter Collins, there it was from the start, that counted.
Yeah, just look at Thomas there. I know he desperately wants to be world champion. Absolutely, he makes a brilliant start from the outside. The bike's lifting, the front wheels very light in the turns. The track's improved immensely, and there he is getting the bumps there from these Polish pits crew and the Polish fans here. The place is full of Polish fans. What a night for him, and what a start for the Grand Prix season. To win the first Grand Prix at the beginning of the year sets you up for the rest of the year.
Peter Collins, a marvellous finish. Jason Crump finished third. Jimmy Nielsen tailed off. They pile up the Grand Prix points. But you were a world champion in 1976. 23 years ago. Can Thomas Golob be champion in 1999?
Well, he's certainly good enough, and he's very, very hungry for it. He really, really wants it. And, you know, I'm sure I would put money on it that he's going to do it within the next couple of years. And it could be this year with the way he's gone tonight, Tony.
Well, of course, we know that Thomas Golob is riding here in Britain for Ipswich. We're going to see him in our live coverage. There, the Grand Prix points show Thomas Golob with 25. He couldn't have started better. Former world champion Greg Hancock did well too in second place. Jason Crump and Jimmy Nielsen in the A final. The B final won by Tony Casper ahead of John Jorgensen, Joe Screen, and Joe Screen, of course, finishing the top Brit on the night. Chris Louis gets 8 Grand Prix points. Disappointment for Andy Smith with 5 from Britain. The biggest disappointment probably Ron Sullivan, who started with the riding number 7. But he will have to take part in the elimination stages next time. But the Polish fans there are showing that they know who they believe to be the best speedway rider in the world. He was tonight. Well, there is Thomas Golob, of course. He's got to go on parade. He wants his sponsors' logos to come out. But certainly he's celebrated there, blowing kisses to the crowd, not to the other riders. Well, there'll be plenty more celebrations here in the Margareta Stadium after the break.
to one's neighbors or